All right, so Khamzat Chimaev, the middleweight champion of the world, the undefeated Chechen, of course, is making a lot of news right now.
Smash somebody, you get money, brother. It's perfect for me.
He's talking about who he wants to fight next. He's telling stories about Sean Strickland.
He's a funny guy.
And then, of course, this weekend, it's UFC Vancouver with a big fight in the middleweight division. I'll give you my prediction on who I think is going to win that fight, and ultimately makes a really strong case to be the next guy to fight Khamzat Chimaev.
If my coach said to me, go with Brock Lesnar, I'm going to go with him.
But let's start with the fun stuff. Khamzat Chimaev told a story, he was on a podcast, told a story that he got into an argument with Sean Strickland. And then the next day, Sean Strickland shows up at the gym with a gun, okay, because he's a little chicken shit or something like that.
Я наехал чуть-чуть на него, второй день с пушкой ходил.
Which is hilarious, okay? Now, I have seen videos of Paddy Pimblett training with Sean Strickland, and Strickland had the gun on him then.
That's the Seagull showed you last night. I picked this. See this?
Because Strickland is about as American as you can get when it comes to the guns. He's always got his gun on him. I understand that Chimaev's trying to have a bit of fun. He's trying to make Strickland look, you know, a little bit scared or whatever. They got into an argument on WhatsApp and all this type of shit. Maybe Chimaev choked him out. Strickland told him to take it easy and all this type of stuff.
I actually kicked Chris Curtis out of the chat because he's trying to de-escalate it. I was like, you know what? So I sent him a message. I'm like, listen, you misunderstood, dude, but you said some shit. I will see you at 3 o'clock. Show up. Be a man. His next message was, oh, no, brother, I misunderstood. It's okay.
He's like, the next day, Strickland shows up with a gun. He's always got a gun. You know this. Or in fact, most Americans, if you're not watching this and you're in England, for example, most Americans, they've definitely got guns in the houses. And Strickland and most Americans have got guns in the glove box of the cars. And a lot of them have got them in the waistband. And Strickland's a bit mental. So, of course, he's got it in the gym and he's having a laugh and all the rest of it. He's not having a laugh, by the way, if you show up at his house in the middle of the night and you're an armed robber or you're a burglar or whatever it was. Remember that guy came to his house and he pulled his gun out? Anyway, so that's Chimaev having a little go at Strickland. But what he did talk about that I found very interesting was he said that he wants to fight Alex Pereira next. Now, I understand that. Of course, he just beat Dricus du Plessis in dominating fashion. He is undefeated, and he is certainly one of the big needle movers in the UFC. That's without a shadow of a doubt. And of course, Alex Pereira is now the champion of the world again. What a stunning display that was against Magomed Ankalaev. I'll never underestimate Alex Pereira again. It's unbelievable what the man did. To beat him in that fashion, to shut him down like that, sensational. However, I do find myself kind of agreeing with the points that Khamzat Chimaev said. All right, guys, you know how much I travel. You know how much I train. I like to work out. I'm 46 years old, okay? So what I put in my body is important. But getting enough protein from food isn't always realistic. That is why I have partnered with Transparent Labs. Because, look, I've tried a lot of protein powders over the years, but most of them, they are filled with artificial junk and ingredients that you can't even pronounce. Transparent Labs, their grass-fed whey protein isolate has been a game changer for me. It's clean, it's simple, and it actually tastes good. This is delicious, and each serving gives you 28 grams of protein from 100% grass-fed cows. No artificial sweeteners, no dyes, no fillers, just a handful of natural ingredients, and that's it. Now, I love the milk chocolate because it tastes absolutely delicious. It actually tastes like chocolate. Right now, Transparent Labs is giving away a free starter kit. When you subscribe, you'll get this shaker bottle, and you'll also get 5 single-serving protein packs in the top flavors so you can find your favorite. This will be going in my suitcase to Brazil. So, what are you waiting for? Hit the link in my description or scan the QR code to grab yours, and you'll also get 10% off automatically at checkout. Big thank you to Transparent Labs for supporting the channel. Right, let's get back to the video. I do find myself kind of agreeing with the points that Khamzat Chimaev said. He said, it's no secret, the guy who's got the belt at 205 pounds, that's a terrible impression, but whatever, is a very good matchup for me. Except if I should get reckless and start standing and trading with him. They say that he has a lot of power, but I've never been edged out in that area. He also pointed out that Pereira used to fight at 185 pounds and moved up to 205. He said, so I would like to fight at light heavyweight. So fair play, I get that, I understand that, but let's be honest, they've both got a lot of work to do in their relevant divisions. Pereira just won the belt again. one of the biggest stars in the sport, massive needle mover as well, just like Chimaev. But when you look at the light heavyweight rankings, look, listen, we know he's talking about fighting John Jones at the White House.
They're telling me we want to fight at heavyweight.
Which would be phenomenal. And Pereira's got a broken toe or a damaged toe, whatever it is, and he might be out a little bit.
My foot was a balloon.
And you know what? At 38 years old, he probably wants to stay active, but moving up to heavyweight. And let's just be honest, there's a very good chance that Alex Pereira versus John Jones does get made at the White House. That would be the biggest fight they can make in the UFC right now. Certainly one of them. Pereira versus John Jones, would that be bigger than Pereira versus Tom Aspinall? It probably would. And it shouldn't be, because Tom is the undisputed champion. But John Jones has been around forever. Now, we spoke about this at length many, many times. There's a good chance that that fight happens. Certainly if Donald Trump is like, let's get John Jones on. Let's get Alex Pereira on, right? The fight's going to happen, okay? It's going to be the best fight card that Dana's ever put together. That's the plan. And certainly with some of the fights that they have available at their fingertips, it just might be. But the reality is that Alex Pereira has got work to do in the light heavyweight division. Remember, Carlos Ulberg just smoked Dominic Reyes, knocked him out cold. He's now on a 9-fight win streak. So he's got to fight him, okay? Outside of that, there's no one else. But for Khamzat Chimaev, there's people there, for sure. There's Nasruddin Imavov, who got a great win in Paris. He beat Caio Barrio. He looked fast. The boxing was unbelievable. He was so quick. That'd be a great fight because the man can wrestle as well. And then this weekend, you got Renier Derrida taking on Brendan Allen. Now, that's going to be a great fight. And Renier Derrida is unbelievable. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He stopped Bob Nickel with that knee. He beat Robert Whittaker, kind of like I don't want to call Robert Whittaker a gatekeeper, but kind of like the gatekeeper to fighting for the belt, okay? That's a different kind of gatekeeper, okay? You're not a gatekeeper to getting in the top 5, but Robert Whittaker's a legend. He's one of the greatest guys to compete in the sport. He's one of the best middleweights of all time. He's a legend. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's an awesome human being, and he's still a tremendous fighter. But I think the title fight talks at 185 are kind of in the rearview mirror, respectfully, and I think he'd probably agree with that at this point. Not to say he couldn't make a comeback, but Derrida beat him, so he's right there. And if he gets another win over Brendan Allen, which, by the way, I think he does do that. Brendan Allen's a really good fighter. He's got great grappling. Look at that first round he had against Imavov in Paris last year. He took him down, he held him down, he was doing great, but then he kind of falls apart. He's got good striking, he's got good fundamentals, he's got excellent wrestling and jiu-jitsu, he's got a good gas tank on him, he can hit hard, and he's got a good chin. The thing that I think Brendan Allen lacks, it's this. I don't know what his problem is, but he kind of doubts himself. He makes mistakes. He starts focusing on the wrong things. He starts getting frustrated. And as I say, kind of starts to make mistakes and then ultimately loses the fight, okay? And Renier Derrida, I think he's going to get the win. Now, who's he going to be, Imavov or Derrida? We don't know. I don't make those decisions. The point that I'm making is that Khamzat Chimaev has a couple of people to fight in the middleweight division. Of course, he's got Imavov, he's got Derrida, and there's also Fluffy Hernandez, who's out with an injury right now. So there's 3 really good, viable contenders in the middleweight division. But if we're talking about what Khamzat Chimaev says, Khamzat Chimaev versus Pereira, that'd be a huge fight. And obviously, people are jumping around weight classes these days, although Dana did shut it down. You know, we saw Islam Makhachev. He vacated 155 to fight Jack Della Maddalena, which is going down next month. And by the way, if you haven't seen that fight card for UFC 322, it is ridiculous. You got, obviously, Jack versus Islam in the main event. You got Valentina versus Zhang Weili, a super fight in the women's division. You got Sean Brady taking on the undefeated Michael Morales. Sick fight. Bo Nickel, Rodolfo Vieira. Leon Edwards taking on Carlos Pratis. And then you've also got Ian Gary taking on Bilal Muhammad. And Ian Gary is talking a lot of shit right now. Talking a lot of shit, just like he always does.
Bilal Muhammad, when he was defending his world title in Montreal, Canada, thought that he could outbox a boxer. He was an idiot. And he was wrong. I hope he thinks he can try to do that to me. It'll make my life easier. But why are we talking about Bilal?
But you know what? Fair play to him. The sport needs people like Ian Gary. Yes, he might be a bit insufferable at times, but he's showing up. He's taking fights. He's being the backup fighter. He's only got 1 loss on his record to Shavkat Rakhmonov, and he gave him a good go. And now he's taking on the former champ Bilal Muhammad, and he is swearing that he's going to knock him the F out. Anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent, UFC 322 is an absolute banger. But regardless, going back to Chimaev versus Pereira, I know I said I would never doubt Pereira again, and it looks like I'm about to. It would be an interesting matchup, right? But of course, Pereira would smoke him on the feet. And of course, in a wrestling match, Chimaev is going to beat him. That's why styles make fights. And that's why, in a weird way, I do kind of want to see it. Anyway, I haven't done a video all week. I was just in Rio de Janeiro. Charles de Bronx Oliveira was unbelievable. The way that he stopped Mateusz Gamrot, just unreal. And to see what the guy's doing, apparently he went back to Brazil. He took his $50,000 bonus and he spent it on a huge party for all the kids in the favelas, for all the underprivileged people. The man is a true champion, a champion of the people, a champion in life. And he might just be the BMF champion next when he goes up against Max Holloway. And don't tell me they ain't going to do that fight. Who doesn't want to see that? Yeah, they fought once. It was a weird esophagus injury early in the first round, and Max Holloway was declared the winner. But it wasn't a real fight, and it was at 145. Remember, the 155 version of Charles Oliveira slaps a little bit different. You never know. Maybe we see that at the White House. Max Holloway is certainly down for it as well. But still, I've rambled on for long enough. I hope you all well. I haven't done many videos this week because I just got back from Rio. I was absolutely exhausted. Before that, I was in Vegas. Before that, I was in London. And on Monday, I go to Abu Dhabi. And by the way, I'm doing a Tales from the Octagon in Abu Dhabi at the W Hotel. So if you're around, if you're in the area, come and check out the show. But that's it. Who do you want to see Alex Pereira fight next? Who do you want to see Khamzat Chimaev fight next? And what do you think about everything that I said? Thanks for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. See you soon.